Good evening. My article was titled Applying Piaget's Theory of Cognitive Development to Mathematics Instruction. The article begins by just giving some background on who Piaget was, his own education, and why he was interested in studying education, particularly in children and through developmental stages. As we know, Piaget was a constructivist, and he developed the stages of cognitive development. There are 4 stages. They begin with the sensory motor stage. The second stage is the pre-operational stage. The third is the concrete operational, and the last is the formal operational. There are different aspects of each stage that are very important, like with sensory motor. Object permanence is obviously a big one. If you have something in front of a child and then you take it away, they just forget it exists. So obviously that would affect how they learn if they aren't able to visually see or interact with something when they're playing. That's how children learn, is through playing. So, and then with the concrete operation stage, there's obviously the conservation. So developing that sense of knowing that if there are 2 containers with the same amount of liquid but they're shaped differently, that they still have the same amount in them. So this article basically just talks about how, as a teacher, especially an elementary teacher, you can be aware of what stage the students are in developmentally with their cognitive abilities, and how to have realistic expectations and plan lessons accordingly so that students are able to succeed and not become frustrated. There are different reasoning skills that this article talks about that are important when teaching to make sure you include, such as clarification, inference, evaluation, and application. And it also talks about some critiques of Piaget, like obviously maybe these developmental stages that he created are not perfect, but we do see that a lot of the aspects that he's pinpointed are accurate, and that's why we still use them, even if some people say that he underestimates the abilities of young children or overestimates the abilities of children who've reached a certain age. But overall, the main takeaway is just, as a teacher, to understand the levels that students are functioning at, and to adjust your teaching accordingly so that your students can be successful. Overall, this was a good article. It was a little bit of a review because as we've learned about Piaget in psychology classes and in ed psych and referenced it in other classes, but it's always good to see how it can be used, especially cross-curricularly and in math or in ELA or different subjects. So it wasn't even a super long article, only about less than 10 pages. So if you have time, give it a read.